Seems like that.
All right. We are on Makkot Daf Yud Bet Amud Aleph. So apologies again for not printing the Daf Makorot, but I sent it out. Everyone should be able to see it on their phones. So hopefully it won't be too phone-based, unfortunately.
Almost everybody can see it on their phone.
Yeah. Okay, so this week we'll be learning about, this parak in Makkot, it deals a lot with Arei Miklat. And as part of the discussion around Arei Miklat, the Gemara starts talking about Yoav ben Tzruya. Yoav ben Tzruya was the general of David HaMelech. We're not going to spend time going through the stories of Yoav, but he's kind of this anti-hero figure where he's loyal to David and he does he fights a lot of battles for David HaMelech. But at the same time, he kills Avner and Amasa, two generals that didn't deserve to die, and David curses him and says, all of your descendants. Right, he brings him to the side and he stabs him.
No, I'm saying, was he part of the game? It's like everybody gonna stab each other?
Yeah, him and it's with Avner, yeah. Well, and it's Yisachku Anerim, Biduk. That's Yoav, yeah. So at the end of David's life, when he's about to die and he's giving over the throne to Shlomo, so he says to Shlomo, it's kind of a parting wish. He says, good luck, you're the king. Here's a whole bunch of people that you should knock off. Potential threats to your rule. And one of the people on the list is Yoav ben Tzruya. As David HaMelech says, I cursed him, but in my life I wasn't able to kill him. It's something that you need to do, and it's one of the first things that Shlomo does. So when Yoav hears about that, he runs and he grabs onto the Mizbeach. And he grabs the Mizbeach, and Shlomo sends Benaiah, who's his kind of assassin, I guess, or his mercenary, and he says to him, come out. And Yoav refuses, and he says, no, I'll die here. And Shlomo says, fine, whack him there, and he ends up being killed there at the Mizbeach.
Is it meant to be like a safe zone?
Okay, so, right, good. So that's the first, most obvious question is, what was Yoav thinking to accomplish? And that's what the Gemara is going to do with.
Like a safe, like a home, that's what we called it.
Sorry?
You grew up with that when you played tag?
Right, base. Or like in Nostradamus, sanctuary, like it's that idea. So then the question is, how was Shlomo allowed to kill him anyway? So we'll see the Gemara talks about that. We'll also look at a whole bunch of other, a longer midrash in a different masechta about all the curses that David visited upon Yoav and a bunch of mefarshim, and we'll end off with an interesting interpretation of the Eitz Yosef on one of those curses. Okay, so let's get started without further ado. So the Gemara Makot and Daf Yud Ben Amud Aleph. So as we said, the context here is Arei Miklat. So the Mishnah in Makkot says as follows. Okay, so if somebody kills b'shogeg by accident, he gets sent to an Ir Miklat. So the question is, you're not allowed to leave the Ir Miklat. Right? If you leave, then the Goel Adam is allowed to kill you. Admod Kohen Gadol. But is that true no matter what? You might think maybe there's some exceptions. So the Mishnah...
Just correct me if I'm trying to understand what it is. Is it, you're not allowed to leave? I thought it was if you leave, they can kill you. If you take your chances, no? You're not allowed to.
So this Mishnah says you're actually not allowed to leave. So the Mishnah says, Ve'enu yotzeh, lo le'edut mitzvah, ve'lo le'edut mamon, ve'lo le'edut nefashot. Let's say you're the only witness of a murder. So you'd think maybe in that case we'd make an exception to allow and maybe bring a guard to come take him out to Beit Din to testify and send him out. He's never
to come out only when the Kohen Gadol dies.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Nachon Meod. Here, have a wafer. Okay. He's not allowed to leave to give testimony, even if he is the critical witness, let's say. Vafilu Yisrael tzrichim lo, even if all the Jews need him. Vafilu sar tzva Yisrael k'Yoav ben Tzruya. Even if he's the general of the entire army, right? If he's gallant or something, so he's not allowed to leave. Shneemar asher nas shama. The pasuk says he has to flee there. Shamte dirato, shamte mitato, shamte gvuroto. He has to stay there until the Kohen Gadol dies. No exceptions. Okay, and the Gemara says, well, we mentioned in the Mishnah Yoav ben Tzruya. So the Gemara uses that to talk about Yoav ben Tzruya. Amar Rav Yudah Marav. Shtei ta'ayot ta'a Yoav be'ota sha'a. Yoav made two mistakes. At that time, what I mentioned earlier, when he fled and grabbed onto the Mizbeach. What were the two mistakes? Tichtiv, vayanas Yoav elo el Hashem vechazak bekarnot ha-Mizbeach. Ta'a, number one, she'eno kolet el gago v'hu tafas bekarnotav. So a technicality, that Yoav grabbed the horns of the Mizbeach, but it's only the top of the Mizbeach that actually is able to save somebody. So obviously this happened before the Beit HaMikdash was built, because right when Shlomo became Melech. That was a few years before the Beit HaMikdash was built. So he went and grabbed the Mizbeach where it was at the time, which was in Shiloh, and it's only the Beit HaMikdash that's kolet. Abai Amar Behanami Mitata. Abai adds a third mistake he made. Ta'ashinu kolet el kohen v'avoda be'adov hu zaraya. Abai says a more fundamental problem is that the Mizbeach only provides refuge for a kohen when he's doing the avodah in the Beit HaMikdash. Yoav wasn't doing any avodah, and he wasn't even a kohen, so it for sure didn't work. And then a parallel teaching, Amar Reish Lakish, Shalosh Ta'ayot Atid Saro Shel Romi Litot. So the angel prince of Rome is going to make 3 mistakes in the end of days. Tichtiv, Mize ba me'edom chamutz b'gadim mibotzra, Torah she'eno koletet el betzer v'hu gula leBotzra. So this pasuk mentions a place, Botzra. Betzer is one of the 6 Arei Miklat. So he says the angel of Rome gets confused. He thought he was going to Betzer, but he goes to Batzra. So he thought he was going to Ir Miklat, but he went somewhere else. That's his first mistake. This is actually important for Yoav as well, that the angel made a mistake because only if someone kills b'shogeg does the Mizbeach provide refuge. But the Saro Shel Romi, he represents Rome, who did everything b'mezid. Right, if you do it b'mezid, you take him even from the altar if it was a purposeful murder. And also it only works for people, and he was an angel. Okay?
The sar here definitely means angel because of the last statement.
Sorry?
The sar, Sarah Shalromi, definitely means angel because of the last statement.
Yeah, and also it's talking about this prophecy for the end of days. It's the representative, like Sarah Shel Esav is the angel that fought Yaakov. It means the angel, yeah. But be that as it may, the focus for us is this story of Yoav. Okay, so what's the reason that Yoav fled? So it's clear, as Shimon said earlier, that he wants refuge, right? Because from the fact that Rav is saying he made mistakes that it didn't provide refuge, which was why Shlomo was allowed to kill him, but also explains why he thought to flee there in the first place.
Also, you see, there's one thing. They said 3 mistakes, and they said it was Sarah Shalomi or Mezidaya, but they don't say.
They don't say it by Yoav.
Yeah, Yoav wasn't like a Mezid, even though it seems like he was pretty Mezid when he killed everyone.
So this next source, I actually didn't bring the full source for interest of time, but it goes into a whole discussion about if Yoav was Mezid, Shogeg, Mored B'Malchut. There's a whole discussion there about his status. So it's a good point, but I didn't bring it for the interest of time. But yes, it doesn't say the Shogeg Mezid here in regards to Yoav, only in the Sarah Shel Romi. You'll see, though, that there's a different version in the Yerushalmi that does bring it, and Tosfot will bring it. Okay, let's go to the Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Mem Chet Amud Bet, because it seems to give a different angle to this. Okay, so the Gemara in Sanhedrin is dealing with the Dinei Malchut. So it says, Tanu Rabbanan, Haruge Malchut nichsehen lamelech, Haruge Beit nichsehen leyoshin. So if someone is killed for rebelling against the crown, his property goes actually to the throne. But if somebody is killed by Beit Din for whatever capital punishment, so then his children or his inheritors get his property. Okay, so there's this exception where if you are Mored B'Malchut, not only do you get killed by the kingship, but your descendants don't get your property; it goes to the king. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees and says, no, even if the king is killing you, your descendants still get the property. So the Gemara continues and says, Bishlam alaman damar nichsein lemelech, hainu dichtiv vayanas Yoav el ohel Hashem v'chzak b'karnot hamizbeach, uchtiv vayomer lo ki po amut. So it says, according to the opinion that says the property goes to the king if the king kills you, I understand why Yoav fled to the altar and refused to leave. Why? Because he knew if he left, then the king would be able to kill him, and then his property would go to the king, to Shlomo. So he says, you have to kill me here, because then it's not considered, I won't be killed by the king, but rather my property will go to my descendants. Okay?
Isn't it for transgression, not who physically kills you? If he's Mored B'Malchut, isn't it the sentencing and not like who actually kills you?
There was a whole mishpat and everything. And
I think the king had to bring him somewhere and then kill him in a certain court, I guess.
He didn't want to be tried.
so it means
And he didn't want to be
Make
tried.
any mistakes.
What?
Also means Yoav didn't make any mistakes at all.
Right. So what are you saying here? That Yoav's motivation for fleeing,
He did it in purpose to go and die there.
he wanted to
So he knew
go.
he would die. He just wanted
I
to do it
think
there.
I think it's more the matter of the fact that that place, also house, is the Shkata Gazit, and if you like, the courthouse that judges on religious matters, or it's their domain.
Mm-hmm.
Means there is some kind of separation of authorities.
Okay.
So, in other words, by him saying, "I want to remain here," that means he asked to be judged by
Beit Din.
Kohanim or Sanhedrin or some kind
Shlomo.
of. No, Yoav asked to be judged by the Sanhedrin.
Oh.
And Shlomo says, no, it's Mishpat HaMelech. It's my. So then they said, "Me'im mizbechit yikachenu lamut." In other words, you can detach him from the altar, for that matter, and drag him to the king's court.
Right.
So
Yep. I think that's a good point. But we see here Yoav's motivation was in order for his descendants to get his property in Shlomo. But yes, thank you for that. That's true. The Gemara continues as okay, so that only makes sense as an explanation, according to the Tanakama, who said that if someone dies by the king, so then the king gets the property. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, who said it doesn't matter whether it's the king or Beit Din, the descendants always get the property, so he's not accomplishing anything by fleeing to the Mizbeach, right? So the answer the Gemara gives is l'chaya sha'ah, which is pshat. In other words, he's not concerned about his property. It's just he's about to be killed by Bneiyahu, so he flees to the altar to just get himself some more time. In other words, even if he knows eventually that he'll get killed, but he has to, then it's a question, can you kill him here, can you not? And he extends his life a little bit more. So it's nothing more or less than that. But either way, it's not about the mistakes that we saw in Makot. Okay? Okay, now let's go through this Gemara quickly, and then we'll start looking at the Mifrashim. Okay, Vayashav Bneiyahu et HaMelech Devar Le'amor, Ko Diber Yoav v'cho anani. Okay, so the pasuk says, Bneiyahu, after he saw Yoav at the altar, he reported back to Shlomo and said, Yoav told me he's not leaving, he's going to die here, what should I do? And then Shlomo says to him, okay, so go take him anyway. So Amar le, what did Yoav say to Bneiyahu? Zil ema le tarte lo ta'avid b'hai gavra. You can't do both things to Hai Gavra, that guy, meaning me. You can't do you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't do two things. What are the two things? So if you want to kill me, then you have to accept upon yourself the curse that David HaMelech cursed me with. This is Yoav saying to Shlomo. V'ilo, but if you don't want the curse that David HaMelech cursed me, shavke deleku b'letutei diletayei avuch. So you have to spare me, and then I will end up getting the curses that David HaMelech cursed me. Now, David HaMelech was this tzaddik, and he cursed me with these curses. But if you kill me, the curse will leave me and attach onto you. So you can't kill me and not get the curses. You have to choose your poison. And what does Shlomo HaMelech decide? V'yomer lo HaMelech, aseh kasher diber u'pagah bo k'varato. So Shlomo HaMelech whacks him off. Also, David commanded him to do that, so he's fulfilling his father's wishes. But the implication here is that Shlomo accepted upon himself the curses that David cursed Yoav with. And now this is the key point. Amar Yehuda Amarav, Kol klalot shekila David et Yoav nitkaimu b'zaro shel David. That all the curses that David HaMelech did for Yoav ended up happening with David HaMelech's descendants. In other words, it actually happened that Shlomo HaMelech got the curses that David had given to Yoav. What were those curses? Al yikaret mi beit Yoav zav v'mitzora v'machzik b'pelech v'nofel b'cherev v'choser lechem. There's 5. Okay, David HaMelech, when he cursed Yoav, he said, there should never decease from your descendants, Yoav, Ezav, Imitzora, Machzik b'pelech is someone who holds onto like a walking stick because he's so frail or sick. Nofel b'cherev, someone who gets killed by the sword, and Chaser lechem, someone who is starving, he doesn't have enough food. Where do we see those examples in the descendants of David? Since Shlomo HaMelech received the curses. Okay, Zav mi Rechavam. So Shlomo's son Rechavam was a Zav. How do I know this? Tichtiv, V'melech Rechavam hitametz lalot b'merkava lanus Yerushalayim. Okay, it says Rechavam tried to go up into the chariot. Uchtiv v'chol ha'merkav asher yirkav alav hazav yitma. And he went up to the chariot, Merkava, and this word of Le'akov is a big word in Tumah V'Tara when it comes to a Zav. So I do the connection there. It said that Rechavam was a Zav. That's the weakest proof. Okay, the other ones are much stronger. Mitzora, who was a Mitzora from David's descendants? Miuziyahu. תכתיב, ובחזקתו גבה ליבו עד להשחית, ויאמר בהשם אלוקיו, ויבוא אליך להשם להקטיר על מזבח הקטורת, וכתיב, וצרת זרחה במצחו. This is a mefurash. That Uziyahu, he tried to bring a Ketores in Kodesh Kodashim, and he got tzarat. Okay, so it's very clear. The third curse, machzik b'pelech. This is someone who's sick and has to hold a stick, a walking staff. Me'asa. Okay, Asa was one of the descendants of David HaMelech. Tichtiv. Okay, this is also explicit, that when Asa became old, so his legs became weak and sick. That he was struck with this disease, pudgara, which is a grout, is the translation. The Eitz Yosef will deal with this pudgara later. We'll see it soon. Amrle Marzutra Beredu of Nachman. Hey Chidami. So there's this weird tangent here where Marzutra, the son of Rav Nachman, asked his father, okay, what does this pudgara mean? What is it? What does it entail? It's like a needle being thrust into live flesh. No, it's incredibly painful. It's a very, very painful disease. And then the Gemara asks, Mina Yada, how did Rav Nachman know how this pudgara feels? So, So if you want, you can say he suffered from it. So he knows. Or if you want, you can say he had a tradition from his teachers. Right? And this is excuse me. Right, this is invoked every once in a while in the Talmud that certain Chazal, they just have these insights. They know these things. So he was given this insight into how this pudgara felt. Yeah, get out of jail free card, exactly. So it offers three explanations for. Well, we'll see the Eitz Yosef. He said, "Why is the Gemara getting worked up about this?" Okay, the fourth curse. Nofel b'cherev mi Yoshiyahu. Okay, who fell by the sword? Yoshiyahu. Dichtiv vayoru Melech Yoshiyahu. Because it's explicit. V'amar Rav Yudah Marav she'asu kol gufo ki kvera. Yoshiyahu in a battle with Paro Necho, so he was struck with all of these arrows.
300 or something. There's a significance to the number in a different midrash.
That's a different midrash. Yeah. It says here that he became like a sieve. His body was so pierced with the arrows, he was like a sieve. V'chaser lachem. What's the fifth curse? Mi Yechonya. Right? He was exiled before Tzidkiyahu. So dichtiv orchat tamid natnalo. So the psukim tell us that when Yechonya was exiled, 11 years before the Churban, so he was given a daily ration in the Babylonian palace. So excuse me, and so the implication is that not Yechonya, a different one. Yoakim was given a daily ration in the palace, which implied that Yechonya was not given a daily ration. In other words, he was starved. That's the idea. And then the Gemara concludes and says, Amar Yudah Amarav, Hainu damri inshe tehe lota velo tehe la'ata. Be the one who is cursed and don't be the one who curses. Okay? Be the cursee, not the curser. Why be the cursee, not the curser? So this actually relates to the shir we had last time, which is Kilat Chacham Afilu B'chinam Hiba'a. Right, Rashi says here that David HaMelech, he cursed Yoav, but it ended up boomeranging back onto his own descendants.
It's like saying don't say anything, and then it's gonna.
Yeah, if you say something negative, it will.
Stay in the world.
It'll stay in the world and it'll affect you somehow. Yeah, it's going to somehow butterfly affect you, and we see this as an example of that. And so it's better to be one who gets cursed, and not one who curses, because if you curse, it'll end up coming back and biting you somehow.
And if you get cursed, it'll also bite you.
Yeah, I guess, but then yeah.
It's interesting because one of the guys who was on the nice little list that was given to Shlomo was Shimi.
Right.
Who was also when David HaMelech was on the run against his son Avshalom. Then Shimi left his house and was throwing rocks and cursing you know, and at the time they left him be, but they left him the way he was and just ignored him. But the thing is, he was on that nice little list that was given to Shlomo to end him.
That's
so
right.
That's as far as the curses go.
So that's a good point. That also ties to what we said last week. If you remember, we introduced last week about if someone a chacham who makes a curse, it comes true even if it's. And then we asked, does that mean in the practical sense or in almost the metaphysical sense, right? In other words, like Shimei ben Gera, he curses David, he ends up getting whacked by David's descendant. Well, that's great because David just took revenge on him, as opposed to here where it seems to be more of a. Kind of this metaphysical. If you curse, just know that it'll somehow come back and boomerang to you. You know,
what goes around comes around.
What goes around comes around. Exactly.
When he cursed him, I think he translated it as he says that like it just doesn't sound like the curse really comes back to him because the curse would be all of his descendants, no? And he would like cherry picking 5.
Wasn't about Yoav. It wasn't about.
It's not that it would be every descendant. It's that it would never leave his descendants. Like Ali Karet mi Beit Yoav.
And cherry pick 5 of David's descendants that had like one specific issue. I don't know if it really implies that the curse is like it's not really a proof.
It's a proof that it was a little bit.
I think the idea is that there would never stop being descendants who would have some curse. You know, from Rechav, and it goes in order also, from Rechavan all the way down to Yechonia, like from the very beginning of the dynasty to then. But I hear what you're saying. That's a good point.
Well, we have the example of the curse of Yehoshua to whoever would rebuild Yericho. And then Chiel Bet Eli, under the order of Achav, did it,
Right.
and he, lost his first son when he put the foundations, and then he lost his last one when he finished the job. So,
Yep.
all in order.
Kilat Chacham, that's not even Bechinam, that was just straight. Okay. So now I want to learn some Mefarshim on this sugya. Okay, so first Tosfot. So Tosfot wonders basically Shimon's question in the beginning, and the main question here, which is these two sugyas seem to contradict each other. Like, why was Yoav fleeing to the Mizbeach? Right, so he says, Tema, it's a question, the Besofa Golin in Makkot, Mashma de Barach, Mipnei She'asavur, the Mizbeach Kolet. Right, the Amar Shalosha Ta'ayot, Yoav. Right, so in Makkot, he fled there because he thought it would save his life. Whereas here, he's worked up about whether his property will be inherited by his descendants. It's a totally different reason. So Tosfot says, V'yesh lomar de lemhimalet yefshar, d'cholin shamro shelo yivrach v'yamud bera'av. Okay, so Tosfot actually says something that when he says it, it's actually really obvious, which is, okay, let's say that there is this idea that, if you're holding on to the Mizbeach, so then, no one can kill you. What's, you're going to live there for the rest of your life next to me? The second you let go, like in tag, the second you take your hand off base, so if someone's chasing you, so they'll just set up guards and they'll whack you when you let go.
You don't touch it anymore.
Yeah, so what kind of concept is that as a refuge? Velonit kaven ela leorish nechasav levanav. So basically Tosfot's answer is that the mistake that Yoav made is that Yoav made mistakes in thinking that it would save him, and that includes the fact that it would save him. In other words, the whole idea was a silly idea. That really he intended to inherit his children instead of to the king. And Tosfot doesn't really see them as contradicting each other. And then he brings another version. Uvirushalmi ika plugta damurai. Dika mandam savar Yoav the kanotav shemizbeach hayu koltin ve'en chakolet el galgo shebet olamim. Aval sheshilo eno kolet. Vika demanda amar ma dichtiv be techakmoni rosh hashlishi hayatoeh el Sanhedrin barach. Amar mutav yeheg bebeit din v'yeshu banav v'nechasav v'yegu hamelech v'yeshu hamelech.
Exactly what I said earlier.
Correct. Exactly. Okay. The Marsha asks a hashkafic question. So the Marsha says, wait a minute, I don't understand. You have an example, let's say, with Uziyahu. Okay? So Uziyahu, he wants to offer the Ketoret. He goes into the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Kohen Gadol tells him you're not allowed in, and then Sarat breaks out on his
It's
forehead.
more like a chremot. The two people just did whatever they want, like, and then they go die. Oh no, it's probably because of the curse somebody did. No, that's why they
Right.
They die.
Exactly. Very good. What is it? Did he get Sarat, to rephrase what Kovic said, did he get Sarat because he Gavali Bo?
Wake up because
Or to fulfill this curse from centuries earlier?
The curse that will get that the descendants will have Taras.
Yeah.
How it comes about is their own actions.
And what if Uziyahu never did that sin?
Well, that's our free will conversation. It's like the Jews are meant to be in a state of power, didn't have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
they didn't try to make it something so big.
No, I'm saying it's the same thing. You also like why was power punished if it was decreed that it would be because it didn't have to be you.
Saying, can you say that one of them will choose to do something that will cause
It
Taras?
reminds me of your show when he
Is
got
that a choice?
the Yud into his name.
See the question.
So they said the Yud is from Sarai. They changed it to Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
So it means like the Yud was waiting for somebody to get it. It's like the Arav Medan said. It's like the snare was boiling all the time and just waiting for somebody to see.
Okay.
Yeah, you
So it might be the same. Like maybe the curse was going around just waiting for he made a mistake. Now I can get on him.
So you're all right. And you are not nearly as bothered as I was, so that's great. Very good.
Sorry, we were very bothered. This is unacceptable. Tell us how this could be.
I mean, you said the Marsha's basic answer, which is the following. Aval gav deruba ne'enshu mipnei achet, kigon Uziyahu, shegava libo, litol lo akuna. Right? Most of them, they got punished because of a sin they did. Ve'asa amrinam b'perek hamet asod mipnei ma ne'ena she'asa Angaria b'talmid chacham. Right, and Asa insulted the Talmud Chacham. V'chen Yoshiyahu ne'enash mipnei achet shelo shema leparo necho, shem mipnei Yirmiyahu. Right, and then Yoshiyahu, he got killed because he didn't listen to Paro Necho, even though Yirmiyahu told him to. So each of them had their own sin in their own context for why they were punished with those punishments. But nevertheless, mikol makom, ilav kilulato shel David, efshar shaya mitkaper lahem be'onesh hakal mimenu. So he gives a bit of a twist. In other words, he says, great. Yeah, exactly. In other words, he says, yeah, Uziyahu, he did the sin, he went into the Kodesh Kodashim. But the fact that he got Sarat, that's to fulfill the curse. It could be that he would have been punished in some other way. Because he needed to be punished, but not necessarily that. That was because of the curse combining with the sin he
השאלה היא
did.
גם למה, זאת אומרת, מה יואב בדיוק חתם מול דוד, ואז יכול להיות שזה מתחבר. זאת אומרת, אני לא זוכר מה בדיוק הוא עשה, אבל מבחינת גבה ליבו, יכול להיות שזה גם סוג של מרד במלכות באיזושהי צורה. ולכן זה כאילו כל איזשהו חטא אולי מתחבר לאיזשהו מעשה שיואב עשה.
David used the coin, he said, קשים ממני בני צוריה. So I think it was a blanket, judgment on the entire family, as far as how David saw them. I think they were just, some kind of a powerful family. And,
Well, he was related to them.
Secure,
They were his nephews, no?
to secure, posts of power within the administration. And then, then came the disagreements.
Okay, I want to see two more Mefrashim. We'll look at the Yun Yaakov and the Yitzhak. Okay, so the Yun Yaakov, you can zoom in as much as you want on the photo grab. So you see where it says Tehei Lota velo Tehei Latata. Hey, be the one who's cursed, not the one who curses. Rabim nevuchim beze. Many were confused by this. Uminalan lomarken. How can you conclude from this whole story about David's descendants getting cursed that in general it's better to be cursed than to be one who curses? In other words, that was the conclusion at the end of the sugya, right? You learn from this, from the fact that David's descendants had these curses, that in general it's better to be cursed. Right?
What's the Lashon Shema? Okay.
Like, Hainu Damri Inshe. This is as people say. So what do you mean this is as people say? Dil Mashaniach de David Kibel Atzmoken. Maybe in this particular instance, David HaMelech was just, he accepted it upon himself, he accepted it upon himself.
Because he regretted putting it out there.
Right. But it doesn't mean in general, any time you curse, that it boomerangs back to you. Why can you draw that conclusion from this specific episode? right? Velo kasha midai, but really this potential objection is not so difficult. The Rashi nishmar mizeh. Rashi protects from this question. V'katav shesof kilat chacham lashuv sof kilat chinam lashuv el mekalel. A curse that is not able to be fulfilled ends up boomeranging back to the one who does the curse. וזה נלמד שפיר מדהות צרך שלמה לקבל על עצמו הלטוטה. ולא ביטל הלטוטה, אלא ודאי שכיוון שכתב ליואב, אם כן קללת דוד בחינם היה. ממילא חזרה קללת החינם על עצמו, וזה כוונת מרשה. In other words, yeah.
If it goes back on the person who cursed, then it's just bad luck for Shlomo that he's David's family. If it was someone else, he wouldn't have come to... He didn't get it because he was the killer. He got it because it goes back to David and he's his son.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
No, it's just interesting. It's not the guy who killed... Because in the story we say, like, he says to him...
But it wasn't about Shlomo. He wasn't about Shlomo. It was about David's zera. It wasn't about Shlomo.
No, but when he's going to kill Yoav,
Shlomo didn't get
if you're going to kill me, then you're going to get the curses. But not because you kill me, because you're David's family.
Yes.
It's just as...
It's an interesting heart, yeah. I guess
doesn't answer why you went to the...
that's a good point.
No, it's just a side point. Interesting.
It's a good point. Yeah.
I thought it was because he was going to kill him. He's saying if you're going to kill me...
Right, then it will be transferred.
Yeah.
So it's not that you'll get the curse because you're the one who kills me. Right.
It could have been a third party and they would have got, they got off scot-free, so to speak, for killing him.
I think it's the whole clash between, based on what I said earlier, the whole clash between the king's authority and, if you like, the Sanhedrin or the name of Hashem. I mean, if you really understand, I think one can infer that the whole claim of Kilalat Chinam is that David cursed Yoav and his house in the name of in his name, not in Hashem's name. Because the klala, if you compare it to the one of what Yoshua said as far as the rebuilder of Yericho, a real curse, if you like, that sticks and doesn't get back at you, if you like, what comes around, and if it's invoked in the name of Hashem. And I think what David did here is he invoked it in the name of his kingdom, his kingship. And I think that's the difference, why it came back against his lineage, the kings that came after him.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Those are, I hadn't thought of any of those points. Those are all good haorot. Yeah, one more source, and this one I actually liked a lot. This is the Eitz Yosef. Okay, so if you see the third line where he says Pudgar. Okay, so you remember there's that weird tangent in the middle of the sugya about Asa. He used to hold a staff, and then he got Pudgar, and then they ask Rav Nachman's son asks him, "Tell me, what is this?" He says, "Oh, it's like stabbing somebody with a needle." And they're like, "How does he know?" "Oh, either he had it, or he had a Masorah, or he just had some inspiration." So. Ken Shem Acholi, Av Bilshonenu, Rashi. Okay, so first he just quotes Rashi, who says this is the name of the disease. V'kasha minalan l'rav shachzor la'asa hamelech pudgera del machala beraglav chol yacher. Right, the pasuk just says that he had some disease in his legs. How did he know that it's this pudgera? Sorry. V'yeshlom.
The foot, right? It's in the foot.
Pedi is feet stuff.
Yeah, it's Latin for foot. Food.
Oh, somebody speaks Belaz.
Somebody speaks Belaz.
No, it's what Rashi says.
Somebody speaks Belaz. That's a good gift. Somebody speaks Belaz.
That was what she says all the time.
That's Middle French.
It's Old French.
Well, he grew up in Toronto, so he speaks French.
It's based off
Tachlis,
Latin.
he's right. Pedi is feet stuff. Podiatrist is someone who does feet.
It could be.
I think it was the father of
Somebody
What is
speaks
it?
there's a book that was written, by the way, about the entire analyzes all the laws of Rashi.
Yeah.
I think it was written by the father
Rashi French too,
of Yoel Katan.
Is he French?
Originally, the father, he was originally from there. But the thing is, in modern day France, they use that book in order to learn.
Old French.
Yeah.
Right.
Some of it's still current. Like some words stayed. There's a funny Rashi where it talks about mermaids. It says, remember we looked at it? It says Chetisuas Adam Chetisuas Stak.
Yeah.
And it says Belaz, and the word it is still French for mermaid.
Right. We did learn that.
There's a Rashi that talks about mermaids.
Yeah, I remember. We learned about it.
I'm saying that the French
There's a
word
few
is-
examples where it
is
translates
stayed.
even to English. Like I think in the Impure Animals, Rashi says like Belaz centipede, something like that. I think it's,
Yeah, but that's because centipede is also based off Latin.
right.
It's not English. It's
Too bad Yoni Hill is not
all
here.
French,
that'd be
which
good.
English
He speaks
also
Mexican
does.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah, centipede, sure. But we digress. Yeah, okay.
We do best.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Petty Gura. What? We're here. Okay, this is the last source. We're almost done. ויש לומר דיתא במסכת בבא בתרא, פרק א' על הפסוק כה אמר השם אשר למוות למוות ואשר לחרב לחרב ואשר לרעב לרעב ואשר לשבי לשבי. There's a pasuk where Hashem prophesies, those who are supposed to be killed are killed, will be killed. Those who are supposed to be killed with the sword will be killed with the sword. Those who will die by famine will die by famine. Those who will be taken captive will be taken captive. And the Gemara there says the following. It's not an accident that they're written in this order. Rather, right? If you get killed by the sword, that is a more unpleasant death than just dying. And dying by famine is slow. It's more unpleasant than being killed by the sword, which is quick. And being in captivity is the worst of all of them. Right? So, yeah. So that's what the Gemara says about this pasuk. It ranks the ways to die from least to most. Difficult. V'hinei, so the Yosef brilliantly takes that idea and applies it here. V'hinei b'kilalot shekilal David et Yoav hachi sidran. Right? What was the order of these 5 curses from our sugya? Zav mitzora machzik befelech nofel b'cherev v'chaser lachem. So he says mimele gam ken al seder zeh kol emuchar kashem echavero. These were also, he claims, from least to most difficult. Why? Mitzora kashem izav. Right, the Matzora is more painful or difficult than being a Zav. V'cherev kasheh mi Metzora, v'chaser lechem kasheh mi cherev. Right, so how do we know this? So he says it, I thought he says it in a bit, but I guess not. The reason we know this is that Metzora is chashuv kemet, right? That the Metzora is like somebody who's dead. And a Zav, you're impure, it's uncomfortable, you're not allowed to sit in certain places, but it's not as bad as being a Metzora, right? So Metzora is like somebody who was like a dead person, okay? And Cherev is, we saw from the previous sugya, is worse than being just a dead person. And then Chaser Lachem is worse than that. That's like Rav. In other words, it parallels the sugya in Bava Batra. Ulechach amar Rav melamed shachzo pudgara. So he says, this is the motivation behind why Rav says it was this petty punishment that struck Asa, because Asa is right in the middle. This machzik b'falech comes after Metzora and before Cherev. So according to this thesis, it has to be worse than just being dead, but not as bad as being killed with the sword. Demechashiv machzik b'felech batar Metzora shu chashuv kemet muchach demachzik b'felech kashem mi Metzora. It's worse than Metzora. At the bottom of the next page shot thingy. Dekayiv harbe. Why is machzik b'felech worse than being killed? Because it's painful, right? It's you're being tortured while you're alive. That's worse than a Metzora. Ve'al zeh hiksha mar zutra heichida mi pudgara sheyeh yoter kashem mi Metzora shu chashuv kemet. Now we understand why the Gemara gets all worked up to understand what pudgara is. It's not just, okay, I want to know what this disease is. It's because I want to understand why it falls where it falls in the order of the curses. And how do you know that it's worse than Metzora but not as bad as Cherev? Right, v'heishiv lo, so Rav Nachman answers, kemacha b'bsar achai. V'al zeh yikshem mena yadalei. Right, and then they ask, how does he know this? The muchach yodea, the mefarish kura, hachi dekai, al pudgara shikashe mi Metzora. So I thought this was just a really nice way to take a totally different... It's just if he's taking a different sugya, he's applying it here, and he's giving more color to why the Gemara goes on this tangent to understand this disease, The motivation behind it is to kind of keep the seder of the curses to be from the least to the most painful. And obviously, just to conclude, right, we see here, so you have the order of the punishment. I mean, it's very sad, but you have, you have Mavet, and you have Cherev, and then you have Rav, and then you have Shevi, and, that's Shelo Neda. That Shevi is considered worse than everything else. So, what?
I'll stop
The recording? Yeah.
Sure,
Shkoyach.